Hello everyone, my name is Gabby, and welcome back to the Dragon Ball Super Review. This time, we're reviewing episode 43. Goku hasn't been feeling well lately, and now he's been having trouble controlling his ki. He consults with Kaio, who says that he's suffering from delayed onset disordered ki syndrome, a consequence of using his ki too recklessly in the fight against Hit. He'll be weak for a few days while he recovers, and after he accidentally wrecks his house, him and his family decide to stay at Gohan and Vidal's place. Now that he can't train for a few days, it takes him time to actually look over and be a grandfather to Pan. But when he takes his eyes off her, she unintentionally gets herself kidnapped by the Pilaf gang, who are attempting to get their revenge on the weakened Goku. But Pilaf gang being Pilaf gang, they screw up, and then their ship heads for space. They get saved at the last minute by Pan herself, who manages to fly herself and them all to safety. And then as she flies home, no one is the wiser of what she was able to do. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, the whole idea of Goku getting this weird sort of ki syndrome thing, not being able, like having the trouble with controlling his own power after he used it and using the Kaioken against Hit. I mean, okay, you could say that this like sort of disease syndrome is very specific and kind of contrived, but I still like the idea of it. I like the fact that there are, this time there's actually long-term consequences for using the Kaioken and Super Saiyan Blue and doing something so ridiculously reckless like he did in that fight. It's like just sort of saying, if you're going to do something this crazy and this reckless, maybe you should actually expect there to be consequences. Don't expect there to just go out there and not have any repercussions for your actions. It's essentially Goku getting punished for pretty much pulling a power-up out of his ass. And I like that idea because, pulling power-ups out of your ass isn't always the best thing, so if you actually do have consequences for it, that makes it better, somewhat. Also, there's the fact that this episode was kind of really subtle in some ways. Goku's kind of being depowered for this episode, at least, and it's just so a lot of this episode is just sort of characters sort of sitting around and talking and interacting. Like the scene with Goku and Piccolo just sort of with Pan watching the stars and just sort of reflecting on life. Like, how we say some parts of Super feels like fan fiction, but like this sort of feels like fan fiction, and this is the kind of thing I feel like I would write if I was writing Super. It really makes you feel like this place is more of a living, breathing world, and the characters are almost like real people, because they're not just involved of fighting aliens. Sometimes they go around and talk about life. Then there's Babysitter Piccolo. The fandom joke that after everything that Piccolo goes through in Z, you'd kind of expect him to be really good with kids because generally his job is to pretty much do the babysitting. Well, they sort of take that in this episode to its logical extreme, and that being that Piccolo is the best babysitter for Pan. He knows exactly what she wants and what she needs, and he's just going to he's just an expert at this field, and it's just funny because, it's Piccolo. And it's sort of in character for him because we've seen him essentially do babysitting duty before. But in this case, it's this is just almost a part of his character now, and it's just so funny. And then Arale showed up for about 10 seconds. Some people were disappointed because they thought they wanted more, but honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it probably was never supposed to be such a big deal. I think the fandom just collectively blew it out of proportion. They thought that Arale was going to be really important in this episode, but no, she was there for a 10-second cameo. It was fun. I liked it. I mean, people in the English-speaking fandom will have no idea who she is, but either way, it's still going to be hilarious. But let's stop beating around the bush and talk about the thing that really excited me, and that was Pan. Pan in this episode. Oh god, this was awesome. So first of all, the biggest part of this episode was that, Pan seems to have a lot of potential power in that she manages to learn, seemingly, she learns how to fly, and some comments from Gohan and Videl seem to just suggest that maybe she's been able to fly for a while or something. And, she seems to blow up a spaceship, kind of, but although saving the Pilaf gang in the process. Pan seems to be a really powerful baby, which makes you think that Pan's going to be pretty powerful if she grows up. And I mean, she's kind of growing up in that, she's talking now. That's kind of something new. And the other thing I really liked about this episode was, it was just a throwaway line, but Goku mentions that, he was gonna make Pan's gonna be a Super Saiyan. Oh my god, I really want that to happen. You have no idea how excited I was when I saw that, because Pan not getting Super Saiyan was, one of the biggest missed opportunities in Dragon Ball GT, in my opinion. It basically ruined her character because, even no matter how powerful she was, it didn't really feel like it meant something. But Here it's like, this, you could say this was a throwaway line. Maybe this isn't going to mean anything. But if this means something, it means that clearly, no, they haven't forgotten. They haven't forgotten that Pan could perhaps one day go Super Saiyan. And if she does, and if it's handled well, it is probably going to be one of my favorite things that Dragon Ball Super has ever done. It's been like 20 years, and the only female Super Saiyans we've ever seen are like the player avatars in Xenoverse and in Dragon Ball Heroes. Pan doesn't even get Super Saiyan in Dragon Ball Heroes. In Dragon Ball Heroes, Super Saiyan 4 Broly is apparently something that's a thing that makes sense, but Super Saiyan Pan is apparently so implausible that they've never done it before. So yeah, I really want Super to do this. If it does it, one day, maybe. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. This is everything I wanted Super to do, and it's done it. And I've been talking about Pan so much, I also missed the other big thing, and that was Gohan, Return of Gohan. After like 12 episodes, he's finally on screen again. And, I think it was also handled kind of well. Like, they actually mentioned that conference that he went to, and they sort of treated it as a big deal. And then there's like, Chi-Chi's also like kind of happy that maybe he's like the only Universe 7 Saiyan to get a job. It's like, they're not just making fun of him for like not fighting if he's not fighting at all. I mean, the other thing about Gohan is at this point, everyone's just sort of wondering, did he get any stronger? Is he any stronger? Because honestly, there's no real indication. But either way, Gohan's back on screen again. That's great. For a second, I was terrified that he was going to like go the way of Launch, and honestly, no one was ever going to like watch him. He was never going to show up ever again. But thank God that was not the case. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, it's basically just one thing. It might not even be the fault of the episode itself, but all this stuff about Pan being perhaps powerful, or Pan maybe being an important character, like a few arcs down the track when like there's a lot of time skips and she's grown up a bit. This could just only be alluding to Dragon Ball GT and nothing more. Especially with the parts of like her trying to like reach the stars, maybe it's saying that like, yeah, because in GT she reaches the stars. And yeah, I'm not just bashing on GT because it's popular to bash on GT. It's like Dragon Ball GT could have been the best show in the world, but I still wouldn't have forgiven it for what it did to Pan. Pan could have been a really great character in GT, but they made it not only that, like, she gets character development, but first of all, that character development doesn't really contribute to much. Like, the biggest thing she does in GT is just find a way to power up Goku, essentially. And then the other thing, they make her a nuisance, when she could have been a great character, but they made her so annoying that to the point that when I say that I'm excited, when I mention on the subreddit that I'm excited about Pan, I'm getting downvoted. So as for next episode, looks like Goten and Trunks are going to be a bit some stowaways on some random alien planet, and seems like we're getting some kind of a bit of a filler arc, it seems, because from what I can tell from the few episodes, like this is going to last at least like 2 or 3 episodes. So whatever this arc is, I don't know, but it's original, it seems like. It's starring Goten and Trunks, maybe, it seems like. So I'm just going to be really excited to see what this is and how it plays out. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 43. Do I really need to elaborate? I loved this episode. People say that slice of life filler is some of the best stuff at Dragon Ball Super, and this episode really, really did confirm that. By just having a way to just sort of nerf Goku, and by just having some of these characters all together, it just felt like this just fun, kind of just these families talking, interacting, and it just felt really real. Like, it felt like they were real. And then there was all that stuff about Pan, and some alluding to maybe she might be an important character sometime in the future, which would be really, I would be so interested in, because she is one of my favorite characters who has never been explored properly. Obviously, I don't know if these things are going to come into fruition until like many, 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 many weeks later, if it's going to come into fruition at all. But either way, even if this doesn't amount to anything in the end, I just enjoyed this episode for what it was a lot. I really liked this episode for what it did. And I'm really looking forward to the next one. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.